Hey there, Alex here. The iPhone 5S was first released in September 2013, so that makes the phone nearly 4 years old now. Normally a phone this age, I would be calling this a throwback. Look at the Moto X for example. Came out around the same time, but it's really showing its age at this point. The iPhone 5S is a little different though, because I think this is probably the best cheap phone you can buy now. The iPhone 5S uses the same general design of the iPhone 5 with a few minor changes. While it's nothing new, it's still good looking to me. But the more important changes are actually these two things: the introduction of the Touch ID sensor and the switch to a 64-bit processor. This was the first fingerprint sensor that I've used that just works. The speed of unlock is still decent and accuracy is just as good as a lot of modern phones. The fact that the iPhone SE still uses the same sensor even today should tell you that much. For the 64-bit processor, even back then, it had a noticeable edge in performance compared to its competitors. Almost 4 years later, the phone still performs well even by today's standard. Apps and games may take a bit longer to load, but after that, they run quite smoothly. I'm running the latest iOS 10.3.2 on the phone, and in general, it's still a pretty smooth experience. I do see some dropped frames every now and then, but it's still very usable. This also meant that the phone has been kept updated for almost 4 years. It's even going to be updated to iOS 11. It may not have the hardware to take full advantage of the new OS, but it's still nice to have the latest security updates. For heavier usage, the smaller battery just isn't enough to last me a day of use, but for normal use, it gets me through a day just fine due to iOS' great standby battery life. Of course, there are a few things to take note of with a phone this old. At this point in time, the battery in a used iPhone 5S is probably quite worn out already, so you might need to get it replaced. The good news is, parts are super easy to find. Most third-party repair shops will have parts available, or you can actually just do it yourself because the phone is so easy to take apart. While the Retina display still looks decent, a 4-inch screen is probably a bit too small for most folks. In a pinch, I'm sure most people can get used to it. I actually like it because I never have to worry about dropping the phone. The small size and low price actually makes it a perfect first smartphone for kids. The iPhone 5S only has an 8-megapixel camera on the rear and 1.2 megapixel on the front, which is actually on the lower side even compared to phones back then. But the camera experience has actually held up remarkably well. The camera app runs well and the images that the camera is able to produce is still decent looking. You get natural looking colors and nice image processing. It's actually not half bad, even in low light. The front camera is sort of decent looking, but I would have preferred a wider angle lens. For video recording, it only records in 1080p, but the results are actually still very pleasing to look at. The electronic stabilization is actually pretty decent too. At this point, you might even be tempted to go for an iPhone 5, and sure, it's still a usable phone. But I really wouldn't recommend it since it's running a 32-bit processor and software support has stopped. So that is why I recommend an iPhone 5S instead. No matter whether it is to use it as a spare phone, a first smartphone for kids, a first smartphone for older folks, or even for yourself, the only thing that I don't like is the lack of Apple Pay, because I actually use it quite frequently. But even that is probably not a deal breaker for a lot of people. The iPhone 5S is a huge testament to how ahead of its time Apple was. Even almost 4 years later, the phone still looks great, still performs decently, and is still an attractive option if you're looking for a cheap phone. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks and see you guys on the next one.